That's just what I needed. Greetings and welcome back, gentles and ladiesmen, to episode 4 of Exo Plays Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage, which is the name I'm going with because I'm North American, but I brought this up earlier a couple times at this point, but there is the alternate title Spyro 2 Gateway to Glimmer, which in my personal opinion is kind of the better title, because Ripto doesn't actually do much in this game, so naming the game after him doesn't really make much sense.
Spyro, you've done well so far. You can have this little trinket for good luck, if you have it.
Oops. I'm sorry, just forced habit, but you could read what he's saying. It was throwaway dialogue. Which I suppose you could say about everything.
The next glides get tricky. You'll have to use your hover maneuver to make them. Press the triangle button during a glide to hover and get extra height. Remember to press triangle when you are very close to the windmill, or you won't make it.
So, like I said, this is one of the best minigames in Spyro 2. I don't know, it's not even really a minigame, it's more of a side quest, with some of the side quests being minigames. But it's basically the back half of the stage, and it's where the platforming starts to get a little bit more interesting in Spyro 2. There was no point in Spyro 1 where you platformed on spinning blades, so I've got to give the game credit for that. So over there, I think that's the last windmill we need to get, so that should give us our skill point real quick. There you go. Now we gotta time our jumps onto those platforms over there. So I guess there is a little bit more mechanical challenge in Spyro 2 than there was in the first game, but it's still pretty easy, so it's not like actually challenging. And yeah, get a load of this.
Spyro, help! The switch to turn off the gear grinder factory is in that room, but, it's awfully noisy in there. Thanks for shutting down the factory. Here, I found this stuck between the gears. You can have it if you want.
So, for some reason, this guy couldn't just press that switch because he was scared. I think they're playing it for laughs, but it's not funny. Let's see, have we gotten everything yet? We're missing 5 gems. So I might as well show this off. If you hold all of the shoulder buttons, there's a gem finder ability in this game. In other games, you have to unlock it by beating the final boss, so if you're trying to go for Speedrun Jones sort of dealio with this game, then you basically have to, actually know where everything is. But for some reason, Spyro 2, oh, by the way, there is a nice swirly thing up there, whirlwind, to get you back up to the second floor, the second level of the stage. Just like in Spyro 1, this game does not, I don't know, except for the first level, I guess. Well, that was interesting. But just like with Spyro 1, this game generally does not waste your time. There are lots of shortcuts and shortcut swirlies and stuff like that to get you back to where you were before with relative ease. So the game isn't wasting your time in that sort of sense, and that is something I appreciate, but structurally the levels do tend to make you run back and forth a lot more than the first game. It's kind of more like a dark hollow.
Hi, Spyro. It's a good thing you're here. If you can help shepherd those baby turtles over there to safety, I'll be mighty grateful.
So, that's the setup for this level, this is basically a world inhabited by a bunch of turtles. Those guys are like baby turtles, and then there are like more photorealistic tortoise kind of enemy, or tortoise characters, and then there are these kind of enlightened guru turtles. And the little baby turtles are baby versions of the guru turtles. It's really strange. Like I said, this game's weird. And I bet you anything that that guy who got crushed by that box in the little intro cutscene is dead. Because lots of people just get flat out murdered in those little scenes. It's so strange. Like I said, this game loves murder, and I don't know why. I think it's supposed to be like dark comedy or something. Like this, the idea is, hey, look at this kid's game. People just get fucking killed. But it's played in cartoony enough that they can get away with it. But it's not... I personally don't find it all that funny, or even all that quirky, really. So it just comes off as weird to me. And, you know, not in an entertaining kind of weird, just more like a... Okay, and it's like I said, there's a lot of that in this game. That is not the last time you will see someone get murdered on screen for some reason. But I digress. There'll be plenty more instances of, you know, just casual murder to discuss later on in the stage. That is an enemy who will release a spirit particle, so make sure you go after them. This guy is one of the more interesting enemies in the game. He has 2 hits. And it is one of the more clever uses of this game's weirdness. He's wearing a rubber ducky, floaty kind of thing, and then that once you destroy that, it's like armor, and then you can hit him again. That is an instance of the weirdness kind of used effectively in an interesting, clever way. Whereas having people get randomly murdered isn't necessarily all that funny or clever. Let's see, so we have to use these turtles to activate the switches. So like I said, each level kind of has a repetitive structure to it, where you're kind of doing a series of the same task over and over again. But like in this level, what we're doing is we're ramming at these turtles so that they go on the switch, so that they'll open the door so that we can progress. And if you ram the turtle in the wrong direction, he will turn around and go back the way he came. By the way, look at that. Another ladder. So that means we get to come back to this level later, just because. I don't know, these weird penguin guys apparently don't work with the water workers, but they're still enemies, so that's kind of strange. So over here, there's this thing we can do more with later. Let's kill a few more enemies. There's our power-up gate for the stage, but we don't have enough enemies killed yet.
The water workers have boxed up most of our baby turtles. The boxes are incredibly strong. With a more powerful flame breath, maybe you could break them open and release the turtles.
So they're babies, or I don't know. I don't know which kind of. I think it's like the big orange kind of turtles. Actually, I don't know. Screw it. There'll be plenty of time to figure out which one it is when we actually activate the portal and start blasting these things. But yeah, for some reason, we can't just be able to climb ladders natively. We need to make that be a power-up that you have to buy. Like, I don't know, I guess all of the money bags kind of things that you have to pay for are arbitrary. It's just an incentive to get players to collect gems, which I'm gonna do no matter what, just because I'm gonna fully complete the game. But in terms of how it impacts, like in the context of the main levels when it's just like, oh, Spyro, I want 500 gems to lower this bridge for you. At least in the context of that, you can just pay for that with, I don't know, I guess you would need gems from other stages. I don't know, I guess everything involving moneybags is arbitrary in that sense, but I don't know. I don't like the fact that I have to basically pay for the ladder ability and then come back here just for that. It feels like it's not like in Spyro 3 where it's just like you have to pay to unlock the other characters and then you get an entirely new section of the level to play. And the backtracking in terms of like getting around the levels in Spyro 3 is much better than this game, by the way. So that's why I don't think the backtracking is nearly as, or is an improvement in the third game compared to the second game, but you know, still. I don't understand why I can't just grab those now, or why Spyro couldn't climb ladders or do a headbutt or, you know, swim just from the get-go. It would have meant that we could have made a little bit more use out of these mechanics, because the headbutt in this game barely gets any use at all. So it's kind of a waste. And it would have gotten more use if they just had it to begin with, but for some reason we need to make that unlockable. That is, it does not ruin Spyro 2 or anything. I don't think it's like the worst thing in the world. I still think this game is fun, and I still come back to it very often because this game is fun. Did I get to the one from over? Yeah, I did. I got that one. So that's what that was. You had to stand on the switch and then basically use the first-person mode to shoot at the box through the door while it's open. Because there's no turtle way down that switch. I'm not talking about no Nintendo Switch. And something else that's kind of annoying is that if you have to go back to a level to grab something, like this level, for example. Say that you decided that you didn't want to free the baby turtles from the boxes until you came back for that ladder, and there's actually a second ladder in the stage that leads to another mini game. Say that was a thing that happened. Well, then you would have to kill all the enemies all over again to reactivate the portal, which is another reason why I don't like the spirit particle system in this game, or why I don't really think it was a good way. Like, in the first game, I thought that enemies drop gems, so that's a good incentive to go kill the enemies. I thought that was perfectly fine. And seeing as every other Spyro game does that besides this one, like, you know, the GBA games, Spyro 3, Spyro 4, I don't know, I can't remember if enemies drop. No, they definitely do in Hero's Tale.
Impressive! Most impressive! Please take this sacred, thingamajig as a token of our everlasting gratitude.
So there's an orb for this level. That one's not that bad. It's just more like it's a lot like the statue one from Colossus, where it's just like you got to go to a certain point in the level. And unlike the springs, like the super flame is actually kind of like a little mechanical challenge too. So you gotta, you know, within the time limit, try to get there and do the thing.
There's a chef at the top of this ladder who wants to make soup out of our baby turtles. If you know how to climb, you could get up there and stop him.
Now, thankfully, since I've already done the baby turtles in the boxes, when we eventually come back to this level with the ladder climb ability to play that mini game and go grab those other gems from earlier in the stage, we will not have to kill any enemies. We are not forced to kill 11 enemies to reactivate the portal because we don't need them. We won't be needing the super flame portal when we return to this level. So thankfully, that's not a problem now, but it is a problem for one of the most annoying minigames in this game.
Thank you, young dragon. The baby turtles will be safe up here. Please take this talisman as a token of our gratitude.
So there we have the talisman for the stage, and because there's nothing else we can get at this time without the ladder climb ability, we will have to come back to Sunny Beach. All right, that's all there is to it for that. And you might have noticed that a lot of the mini games aren't super challenging so far. Like, they're either weird and make no sense, or they're really easy. Like, they add mechanical variety, but in terms of being like actual fun little challenges, I find that most of them don't really fit that bill. All they really do is, you know, give you something else to do besides collecting gems, which for, you know, a lot of people will cite the inclusion of mini-games and stuff and side quests as an improvement over Spyro 1. And in the sense of just giving you something else to do, I'd say that they succeed in that sense. By the way, if you jump through the windows over there, you can grab this orb right here. If I can actually succeed in doing that. Down over here, got some more braskets and money bags.
Say, Spyro, you see this wall here? I bet you're dying to know what's on the other side. If only I had a few more gems, I might be able to remember how to lower the wall. Yes, the sparkling beauty of those gems seems to have jogged my memory.
All right, so now we can go over here, and I believe that there's another stage, Aquaria Towers, which is another stage with a skill point. You can grab all these gems. Before we do that, I say we head to our first Speedway stage, which is up and over this away. And hit these buttons to open the gates. And that's what the gimmick was with that orb was. There's a gate that we can't open, cause like another gate comes down, then you can't get over. So you got to leave that one open, and then go around through the windows.
Nice work, Spyro. The orbs you're carrying have activated this special portal. You won't find a talisman in the Ocean Speedway, but if you're fast, you'll get lots of treasure. Have fun.
Alright, so speedways in this game are pretty much identical to the flight stages from Spyro 1. Pretty much in every possible way. Like, it works the same, you get more time for completing objectives, and you can also unlock... Sorry, you also unlock a skill point by getting a best time. Like, there's a set time limit you gotta do all this stuff in to get a talisman. We'll go kill these beavers real quick. They're beavers riding in cars. Like I said, this game gets weird. I don't know, I feel like the weirdness in this level is the good kind. I'm sure most of you don't care what my opinion is on that front, I'm just throwing that out there. And I find that in terms of, there'll be lots of parts where there'll be like enemies or objectives moving around in circles. I find that if you go in reverse order on the circles, you'll do it much faster that way. Like, so basically it's like going against the tide, essentially, in terms of how they're moving around. That'll do it faster, and that'll make sure that you can get your skill point for getting the best time. I believe for this level, the time that you gotta clear is 1 minute and 10 seconds. Which if you go in the order I'm doing it, you should be able to get that just fine. And see, we got our skill points, so that means we did it fast enough. And you'll know that you get a skill point because it's got that distinct sound effect. And we got our best time. So now, there are actually secondary objectives in these flight stages now. We come over here.
I guess now you think you're pretty good. Well, let's see if you're as good as the current champion. Alright, Spyro. Meet the course champion. In order to win the race, you must fly through all the rings. Beware if Hunter flies through a ring first. The ring will start to shrink.
Okay, so this minigame is pretty good, actually. It's just, basically all you have to do is follow Hunter here, and that's what Hunter does in the context of this game. I haven't really talked too much about the story yet, which is kind of ironic because I spent a lot of time talking about the story in Spyro 1, even though it's much simpler in a lot of ways. Basically, there's this cast of characters that we've already met. Hunter, Alora, the Professor, Moneybags. That's basically the cast of Spyro 2. And they all kind of have their own kind of gimmicks in the context of the stages. With Hunter, he's usually here to teach you how to do some kind of mechanical thing. Like at the beginning of the game, he kind of gave you this little challenge of, hey, can you follow me around on these platforms in Summer Forest? And then when you do that, he gives you an orb. And usually when Hunter shows up in this game, it's to give you little challenges. He's kind of a sportster, he's a jock, this Hunter. And he'll always give you like little mechanical challenges like that. Like in this case, hey, I'm gonna fly around, can you follow me and go through the rings? That's the little challenge that he's got going on. And there'll be other Hunter-related challenges elsewhere in the game that have similar sort of
Great job,
extreme
Spyro.
sport elements.
That was some excellent flying.
And for beating Hunter, we get an orb. And it's not a race because no matter what you do, Hunter wins. So you just gotta follow him, basically. Which is a fine little mechanical challenge where you just gotta kind of steer yourself around where you're flying. So that's a fine minigame. I don't really have any complaints with that. And with that done, we can move on to our next stage, Aquaria Towers. And you can always access your guidebook at any time to check to see how everything's looking. As you can see, we have completion percentages for all the stages, and we have one more stage left in this hub world, and that is Aquaria Towers. So we'll go ahead and head on over here and see what's going on in this world. While we're young.
The
funny-looking guys with the shock sticks have drained all our water. We can't get it back unless someone activates the switches they're guarding.
So these guys are the water workers, back again from Sunny Beach. So that's what I was kind of getting at earlier when I said that there's a lot of enemies and characters who sort of appear across different worlds, and there's one very clever use of that in 2 of the second hub world stages that we'll be playing later on. I'll be sure to point that out when we get to them, but yeah, I don't know, I guess this place is... No, this is the seahorse place. The seahorses live here. I don't know why they have all this technology or what they need it for, but I don't know, I guess they just have a giant undersea castle, which is a cool idea for a level, don't get me wrong. But the water workers are the bad guys, and I don't know, I guess they hate these crabs that will later show up again in Spyro 3, which is where I know them from, so it's kind of... It's one of those things where it's just like, I'm sure that a lot of people have played Spyro 2 more, and they go play Spyro 3 and they're like, hey, what are the lizards doing here? Or, hey, why are the crabs back from Aquaria Towers? And whereas for me, it's the opposite because I've played Spyro 3 way more than this game. So I'm always like, hey, what are the crabs from Lost Ships, or what is it called? What is that level called? I don't know. I can't remember, and it doesn't have its own unique musical track, so I wouldn't know anyway. Lost Fleet is what it's called. I just remembered. So I'm just gonna make sure I didn't miss any gems over here. It's like we got a little pool, got all the gems down here. And I'm still used to, even though the snapping, and down here there are a bunch of metal sharks. Not to be confused with Metal Shark Player from Mega Man X6, the greatest game ever made, don't you know? But yeah, and we'll actually be coming back to that area later, but can't do anything with it at the moment. And the way forward's down that little hole there. We'll go there in just a second if I can ever get this really easy gem. And we'll grab these guys over here. Like, I think what they want you to do is swim upwards through this little area over here, but it's so much easier to just jump on the little ledges and go that way. So yeah, that's the thing you can try. Yeah, so that's unfortunately all the time we have today, folks. Join me next time in episode 5. Yeah, 5, and we will head down that pit and see what else there is to see in Aquaria Towers. Until then, I'm Exo, and I'll see you guys next time.